Let's talk about something that's becoming increasingly important for enterprise companies worldwide: cyber risk management. Traditionally, cyber risk has been managed manually in silos, separate from the business's core operations. The future is about getting real-time risk insights benchmarked against your industry peers through automation. And CyberSaint's CyberStrong platform is leading the charge. CyberStrong is not just another point solution. It's a revolutionary platform. It's a quantified top-down risk approach where your unique cyber risk informs C-suite decision-making to identify your top 5 cyber risks and the controls to mitigate them. Sign up for your free cyber risk analysis by visiting securityweekly.com/cybersaint. Why is identity resilience a top priority for security executives? Because your identity access management, or IAM system, is critical to your business. Whether you use Okta, Microsoft Entra, or another IDP, if your IAM is attacked, your operations can go down for hours or days, directly impacting your bottom line. So what's your backup plan? Mighty ID is here to save the day, reinforcing your IAM resilience. With flexible backup and recovery, and even migration between IDPs, Mighty ID keeps business running when failure is not an option. Check out Mighty ID at securityweekly.com/Mighty ID for more.
Hi folks, I'm Adrian Sanabria, the host of Enterprise Security Weekly. Every week, we interview the most interesting folks we can find, talking about the most pressing cybersecurity issues and challenges facing the enterprise today. Myself and my co-hosts have each been in the industry for decades, long enough to see the patterns in the industry and explore where trends are going. In addition to enterprise challenges, we also follow the vendor space, the most interesting security startups emerging, technology and product trends, all of the most interesting funding and acquisition announcements. Finally, we love to discuss the latest trends in tech and how they'll impact cybersecurity. If you're wondering how the latest in AI, quantum computing, cloud, and DevOps is going to impact security a few years down the road, you should follow the Enterprise Security Weekly podcast.
We're back at RSA Conference 2024 in Broadcast Alley, Moscone West, and I am here today talking to Theresa Lanowitz. We've done this before. She is Chief Evangelist for, I thought it was AT&T Cybersecurity, but what's this?
It's Level Blue. And
what's Level Blue?
It is so great to be back here with you again, Jeff. I mean, we haven't talked probably since last summer, yeah. So on Monday here at RSA 2024, it was announced that Level Blue is a new company, and it's an alliance between AT&T and Wilgem Ventures. And what we offer at Level Blue is we offer ways to protect your business intelligence through our cybersecurity consulting, ways to predict your security spending and your security habits through our managed security services, and also a way to mitigate risk, provide visibility, and foster innovation through our Level Blue Labs threat intelligence team. And the fourth component of that is what we're here to talk about, which is our thought leadership research.
So, and I neglected to say I'm Jeff Mann, co-host of Paul Security Weekly, because I was so excited to jump into the big news. And of course, being a member of the media, I got the advance notice about a week ago. So I've been like, can I talk about it? And I think we've talked in the past that I used to work for AT&T, over 10 years ago now. So I might know some of the people that are still there. So we'll definitely have to talk later and find out who's where and what's what. But in general, how's everybody that's now Level Blue? Is there excitement?
This is definitely
curiosity.
Definitely an exciting time. A new chapter, a way to be far more focused on cybersecurity in general, to really act as strategic extension of the teams that are out there. And that's one of the things that dovetails quite nicely into our thought leadership report, is this concept of cyber resilience, bringing in those trusted third-party advisors,
right,
such as managed security services, consulting, bringing in threat intelligence, and so on.
Things that, at least in my experience a long time ago with AT&T, we kind of got lost. I mean, we were this much in a very large company, and so I would imagine that there's a lot of excitement just in terms of jettisoning from the mothership, being able to be focused, and you can do identity and not have to worry about all the things that we used to have to worry about that we probably shouldn't share on air. But
yes, and just
pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting. And just to be clear, it is an alliance between AT&T and Willjam.
Right.
And so AT&T will still have a minority share in us, and AT&T will still continue to sell Level Blue services.
So
and AT&T will have board representation.
But more clear lines of demarcation. Correct. And hopefully less confusion and that type of thing. Yeah. Interesting. So you're here with the cyber resilience support because that's what we usually talk about.
Right.
What's new and exciting or concerning and disturbing about this year's report? Where do you want to go?
So this is our first piece of thought leadership research to come from Level Blue.
Okay.
And the data in here is extremely fresh. We just finished collecting it at the end of March.
Wow. Okay.
And we focused on cyber resilience this year, and it's the futures report. And what it is it's a quantitative survey of 1,050 IT and cybersecurity executives, C-level and one below C-level, who wanted to tell us about their cyber resilience journeys. We surveyed 18 different countries, and we also surveyed 7 different vertical markets. So it's an incredible bit of research, an incredible piece of research that everybody should download from levelblue.com and take it, read it, share it with your executives, share it with your leadership, because I guarantee it will help you fight some of those battles that you've been fighting with internally for so long. Things such as collaboration, getting closer to the line of business, understanding how to work with senior leadership, making sure that cybersecurity is a top line budget issue. So rather than being isolated, bringing it more integrated.
So pretty much all the stuff we've been saying for the last 30 years.
But
you have some data to back it up.
We have a lot of data to back it up.
Yeah,
and I'll tell you the first exciting thing that we found in here is that across the board, all the 7 different vertical industries that we surveyed, they all say they're struggling with the same problems with cyber resilience. And you might ask, well, what is cyber resilience? It's a word.
That might be a good place to start.
Probably a good place to
start. What are we talking
about
here?
So cyber resilience is this idea of the entire IT estate and how that IT estate, as well as the business, can recover from certainly a cyber attack, a cyber event, but also some sort of natural disaster, a hurricane, a flood, a fire, or some type of man-made accident. And it's about being able to bring that business back online. And an example I always use is this idea of, let's say you have a river with some moisture sensors watching the high water mark. And if water rises to a certain level, an alarm will be tripped and people will be told in the area to evacuate.
Right.
That's a fairly common scenario now. So from a cyber resilience perspective, let's say there's a tornado that comes through, dismantles those sensors, knocks down the poles that they're attached to. It just completely obliterates that supply chain of where the emergency messages are going and so on. That's cyber resilience. How do you get that back up so that the people in that area can feel safe that those sensors are doing the job? So bringing in everything from your legal team, perhaps, your marketing team, your line of business, the product team, the cybersecurity team, certainly. And then cybersecurity resilience is those same sensors. They're sitting there along that river waiting for high water. But let's say some adversary decides to come in, hack into that one of those sensors and execute a DDoS attack.
Sure.
That's part of the cybersecurity estate. Now, how do you recover from the cybersecurity estate? And all of this is being brought about by this idea of dynamic computing, this idea of innovation, bringing a lot of innovation through computing outside the 4 walls of our organization.
Right. You've used the term estate now several times. We're no longer talking about a network or a system. Unpack that a little bit. Is that is that a Level Blue term, or is that something you coined, or is that something that's
it's an industry term?
Industry term.
Yeah, and it is everything, because if you think of the entire IT estate, we have mainframes. Once we became more democratized, we had local area networks, we have client server, we have all of those custom software applications that we've built, we have all of those commercial off-the-shelf products that we use.
Right.
We're still using, it's amazing just talking to people about this, running into the commercial off-the-shelf products that people are still using.
Oh, yeah.
And now we have the proliferation of endpoints. endpoints beyond the usual suspects of laptops, desktops, tablets, and phones. So looking at things such as sensors, and those sensors can be out remote. They can be along that riverbank, in a cornfield, on a tractor.
Sure.
You can have cameras inside your manufacturing environment, and then that entire supply chain that you work with. So going as deep as that supply chain, the physical supply chain, as well as the software supply chain.
Yeah, as we evolve, we're not making things any easier.
We aren't, yeah, because nothing ever goes away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Safe to assume that most of the respondents to the survey are part of the portfolio of the company, or did you open it up to anybody?
This is a broad survey. We engaged with Financial Times to go out and do this survey. So I'm sure some of them are probably Level Blue clients, but we did not say we only want this to be Level Blue clients. This was an open survey across 18 countries.
How long did it take you to rehearse saying level blue, level blue, level blue, and not revert? I'm sure there'll be a slip up somewhere, but I'm trying level blue, level blue. So, and you said it covers a lot of industry verticals, lots of different sizes of companies, and certainly not every size company is participating in the entire estate. They have their little piece that they're participating in. How do you make the information here, obviously you're downloading it, reading it. How do you encourage maybe the smaller organizations that don't get a lot of the attention of a lot of the vendors here, let's say, to give them a leg up and give them a fighting chance in this estate?
Yeah. And the IT estate is something that every company needs to be concerned about, regardless of how small you are, regardless of how big you are.
Right.
So that IT estate is out there for everybody, because you may be a small company and you may say, I have complete visibility into my IT estate. But what about your supply chain? We found that 61% of organizations do not have good visibility into their supply chains. And I don't think that's a surprise.
I think that's kind of low, frankly.
61% do not. Yeah.
Do not.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of low, frankly.
Yeah. You're probably right.
Yeah.
So to answer your question about how companies of all sizes can be focused more on cyber resilience, identify what those barriers are. And what we found is that across those 7 industry verticals that we surveyed, the barriers are fairly common. There might be new regulations that are coming in where that information for cyber resilience might be unattainable. We also found out that executives at the C-suite level, they do not understand what cyber resilience means.
Right.
And so many organizations conflate cyber resilience with cybersecurity. And they say, well, we're already funding cybersecurity over here. We're not going to fund this thing called cyber resilience.
Right.
And even the governance teams, the ones that are about instilling the idea of rules inside of an organization, they don't understand what cyber resilience means. 72% said they did not understand what cyber resilience means. So it starts at the top. So understanding what those barriers are in your own organization, and then be secure by design.
Right.
And if you do not understand what's going on with this new idea of dynamic computing, these new types of use cases that you're going to bring in, don't be afraid to go out and bring in a trusted third-party advisor. And we see for a lot of the strategic activities, things such as architecture, data management, strategy, and planning. This is where the trusted advisors are coming in and setting people on a path. And then they'll bring in also trusted advisors for things such as application development, quality assurance, endpoint management. So bringing in those trusted third-party advisors makes a whole lot of sense.
Right.
And then one of the other big things we found is that for all of our good intentions, cybersecurity is still fairly isolated. It's underfunded, and it's reliant upon these external triggers to get more money for cybersecurity. So align your cybersecurity investments with what's going on in your business, and then also just revamp your entire cybersecurity strategy.
Right.
Understand what you can and cannot protect against. Look at your industry vertical and understand what attack type are you most concerned about. Can you remediate against it? We found that across the board, all 7 industry verticals that we surveyed, across the board, they all said we are not prepared to remediate against a DDoS attack or a nation state attack.
Yeah.
And DDoS
One
attacks
of those 800-pound gorillas we don't talk about. All the investment in security products and tools, and to some degree consulting and whatnot, really designed to protect against the casual, incidental type of event. No, but we don't like to talk about the targeted attacks, and somebody really wants to come after you as an organization for whatever reason. And yeah, most companies are not equipped for that, and really in some ways they can't afford it, because how much can you invest in security? So rethinking it, and I like the idea of resilience versus strategy, because it suggests to me the reality of, get over yourselves. You've got you're playing in this arena, this estate. Something's going to happen sometime. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
Stop trying to prevent. Do that, but also prepare for the outcome, the inevitable outcome. I think that's where
absolutely.
Okay. We're winding down on our time. Any parting thoughts, any nuggets we didn't touch that you want to highlight before we go?
I would encourage people to download the report, visit us at levelblue.com, read the report, and now you have some ammunition, if you will, to go and talk to your senior executives, to go and talk to your C-suite and say, here's why we need to be aligned. We can talk all we want about DevSecOps, and we can talk all we want about DevOps and cybersecurity, but we really need to be aligned between the business and what we're doing in the cybersecurity side, and cybersecurity needs to not be an afterthought. It needs to be part of what's going on in the business.
Amen. Well, thanks for spending some time with us today. Exciting news. Looking forward to see how that evolves over the next days and months and years. And we'll try to all remember to say Level Blue and not that other thing that's still affiliated and they're still invested. For more information, as you said, levelblue.com, or also you can go to securityweekly.com/levelblue RSAC. That's going to wrap us. Thanks very much, Theresa.
Thank you, Jeff.
Welcome to RSA Conference 2024. We're here recording live from Broadcast Alley in Moscone West. This interview is sponsored by Blumira. I'm your host, Adrian Sanabria, and joining me is Jim Simpson, CEO of Blumira.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome.
Thank you.
How you doing, Jim?
I am great. It's
good
been a
show
really,
so far?
Yes, it has been. It's nice to see everybody back here. It's pretty lively, and it's been interesting listening to the conversations.
Yeah, so I was actually having a conversation earlier. Somebody was asking me, why I liked certain products over other products. And one of the points I brought up is there's a lot of stuff in that expo hall that only a Fortune 100 or Fortune 1000 will be able to afford, either because of the cost of the product or the cost of the labor to implement and use that product. So today we're talking about leveling the cybersecurity playing field. And the heroes building stuff for the SMBs, for the lower end of the market, where they don't have as much insurance, they can't withstand attacks as much, and they sometimes the adversaries, the attacks against them, the technology is the same, so what made you want to build for this market?
Personally, in working with cybersecurity technology over the years, one thing that we noticed is that when we as cybersecurity practitioners build for other practitioners, things tend to be more complex and complicated. And in my own career, helped start a company called Duo Security a few years ago in Michigan. And what was interesting back then is we did a lot more in-person work, and we couldn't convince anybody to move to the state of Michigan. So we actually ended up building a cybersecurity company in the state and onboarded a lot of people into cybersecurity, and realized that it was really more about like the accessibility and making it easier for people to understand things. And so I think that company was really successful at serving an underserved market. And if you've been paying attention to the news at all companies, regardless of size, are a target for breach. And the companies that are out there in the SMB can't necessarily afford the solutions that have been in the market for a long time. So that was a thing for us where it's like, well, this is a great market to be in. We can actually help move the needle in terms of security outcomes. Why not do it? and we have some of the DNA that goes into building products for that market. So, and then I think the last thing was technology has evolved so much in the last few years that you can solve this kind of problem at scale for smaller organizations now. So that was kind of like the interesting opportunity to go after there.
Yeah. So one of the interesting things we get into when we talk about more down market, mid market SMBs is how you sell to them. You start getting into channels. You start getting into managed services. Who's your customer that you're selling to?
So the ICP, the ideal customer profile, tends to be an IT operator, maybe a director of IT, because in that area of the market, you don't often have security practitioners. The IT people may understand like security principles, but they're not like SOC analysts and what have you. So that's the primary person that we work with in these organizations.
And you've got SIM, XDR. Historically, SIM is the example of a labor-heavy product to implement and manage. So how'd you handle that?
Yeah, so that's all about first principles. So there's been a couple of buzzwords at this conference, like AI, and I think that like strapping AI onto something where the first principles were devised 20 to 30 years ago may not necessarily drive the outcomes in broader parts of the market. So for us, we really looked at like, what do those people know already, and how can we actually make them effective? Like, what is their day-to-day like? They don't, they might be subject to the same compliance requirements, but they don't necessarily have the same budgets, and they really don't have the time. And so how do you make a product with outcomes that fit within those constraints requires just a total rethink of the first principles that go into the product. And a lot of it has to do with, we think that security problems can be solved within the first standard deviation of the mean. And if you've been in security for a long time, a lot of the products out there can go way beyond that, and sometimes I think lose sight of the basics.
Yeah. I mean, thinking about my experiences deploying SIMs, which I've done several times. First thing is nothing out of the box worked for me. So I had to build all that stuff from scratch. I had to build the reports, the alerts,
So this, I mean, let's just make it concrete. So that is the exact thing you have to think about. When a customer comes to us, they'll sign up on our website. They can enroll in a free trial. So there's, they don't have to talk to anybody if they don't want to.
Yeah.
We tell them, send us all of your data. So they don't have to think about which log files, which APIs to hook up. We just say, send everything, because we figured out how to ingest at scale without it being a cost problem for us. And then I think we work with probably 250 vendor integrations, and we're in the long tail of, adding more integrations. But the cool thing is that if you send us all of your data and we build another integration, then you automatically get the value of that as it comes online. You don't have to pay for that either. But then we automatically turn on detection associated with those streams of data as they come in, so you don't have to turn anything on either. So we make it really, really easy for someone to onboard it, because if you're going to deliver a product to that part of the market, you have to get rid of all of that. So like you're saying, it took a long time to set up a SIM, probably months. Like for us, probably the longest amount of time is 2 days, but on average we see people get it up and running with the product in a couple of hours.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it's just a complete game changer. And the irony is that the market that we serve doesn't actually understand that it's that amazing. Like you're like, what? 2 days?
Yeah.
Like, wow.
It just does what it's supposed to.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's, unless they go tour an enterprise or something like that, all these people just sit here and stare at alerts all day? What?
Right. And also, well, if you think about that too, it's like there's a lot of like stress and burnout associated with having to do that kind of job. So
and that's where we start people in this field.
Right. And so shouldn't we be designing products that actually allow them to work on higher order things? And that again was another thought that went into this, but we have to do it that way because we don't have our customers don't have access to SOC analysts in their organization.
So when I think about your competitors, most of them have been around a long time, probably long enough to have some legacy stuff and maybe not built with these same first principles.
Yep.
So maybe I'm already calling it out, but what kind of separates you? Why would somebody go with a Blumira over some of those guys?
Well, one of some of the feedback that we hear from customers, because some of them will have some kind of security tool in place.
Right.
What they find is that we will report on incidents before the thing that was supposed to report on the incident will,
Interesting.
because
Okay.
we're ingesting the same log files, but because of the way that we've designed the product, we have purview over all of our customers' data, and so we're able to see like which detections are firing, which ones aren't. We can also spin up things a lot more quickly and then test it across all of that data to see what might actually be effective. And so that allows us to deliver things in real time much more quickly than the incumbent vendors have done. And the other part of it is that we also don't overwhelm our customers with hundreds or thousands of alerts. We deliver something called a finding, and so you'll get maybe one or two of those. It's
Right.
like a 100x, 1000x like fewer in terms of scale,
Right.
but then you're getting something that you actually have to work on, and it's going to like lead to some sort of positive security outcome for you. The important part about that is we make no assumption about the operator's knowledge when they're operating on the finding. So say there's a suspect finding, like a new Windows administrator has been created on the network.
Sure.
Could be benign. You've got a new IT friend working with you, or common like way to cover your tracks. So we explain that in our heads up display. But where the real value comes from is we have a set of, a decision tree that we walk them through for them to solve the problem themselves. And the first question we ask in that case is, did you set up a Windows administrator? If it's yes, then it's great. We'll close the finding, log it to the audit trail. If no, then we walk them through the next step and the next step and the next step until they solve it themselves. And if for any reason they get stuck, we do actually have a very small SOC analyst team at Blumira that they can talk to in real time, which does
Excellent,
double
yeah.
duty. Helps them solve that. But then we also try to figure out where can we make this better, because we don't necessarily want to do more of that. We want to empower our customers to
Right.
learn security through practice.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I feel like, in product development, that's really important to have that feedback loop, right?
Right.
So that there's another company. I don't think you really compete with them, but Red Canary kind of has a
Oh,
story.
yes.
around
Understood.
that where,
Yep.
Like they got away with 3 analysts for the longest time. It was really impressive because they were constantly improving their efficiency.
Yeah, we are in a very similar position right now. And again, the idea there is like delivering, a white glove experience to a group of people who may never have had that before with an IT vendor, but then who probably never would have experienced that because they didn't have anybody helping them previously.
So I imagine you must be doing a lot of detection engineering and deduplication and correlation in the background.
Yes.
Stuff hidden from them, hiding that complexity
Yes, exactly.
to build these findings. And
Yep.
yeah.
We have a detection engineering team. It's also a very small but mighty team. And that team, because of the way that the infrastructure works, they can deploy new detections without us having to do anything on the part of the end user. We don't have to contact them for them to get the benefit of it. We can just say, oh my gosh, there's a 0-day out there. How can our product help with that? And then how can we deploy that? And then how can they benefit from that? So it's really fun to do that, because like these kinds of things I just don't think were possible technically even 5 years ago.
Yeah. So where are you going? What is the future for Blumira?
So for us, I mean, if you follow us, you'll see that we launch things all the time. I'm a former product person, so I'm kind of addicted to getting product out there. But, in particular, we listen to our customers in terms of like what they want, and delivering this kind of product to SMBs is really challenging. And so we're just going to continue focusing on like how can we make it easier for them to get into it? How can we add more functionality with what they've got today? How can we listen to the things that they're looking for and add those things into the platform itself? But really not looking to go, much beyond that. And maybe for us as a company, one of the bigger things will be helping organizations in other parts of the world, because we get a lot of inbound interest from overseas, but servicing the US is challenging enough. So for us, it's like focus on the core principles here, because that is challenging enough.
Yeah. And before we wrap up here, tell me about your company's affinity for hedgehogs. I'm not sure if you can capture this on the camera, but
so hedgehog. So our mascot, her name is Mira the hedgehog, and our co-founders have an affinity for hedgehogs because they're kind of spiky on the outside, kind of like the security practice, but soft on the inside like us, and very, very food motivated like everybody, right? So
that's great. Thank you so much for joining me today on Security Weekly. It was
My
a
pleasure.
lot of fun.
Great. Thank you.
All right. If you want to learn more about Blumira, you can visit securityweekly.com/Blumira RSAC. And also go to securityweekly.com/RSAC for all our other coverage coming from RSA. Stay tuned. In a few moments, we'll have another interview.